Welcome to Progress Texas Podcast. I'm Advocacy Manager Reagan Stone. Today, I'm joined by State Senator Molly Cook, who represents part of Houston, actually a part of the Congressional District 18 that was once held by the late and great Sylvester Turner. Definitely a point of a topic of our discussion today with redistricting and everything else in this special session. We're joined again by State Senator Molly Cook. Thank you for joining us from the Texas State Capitol today.
Thank you, Reagan. My pleasure.
Well, you know best here in Texas, we are very much still recovering and will be for many months and even perhaps years from the tragedy of flooding in Central Texas. Lives were lost in Central Texas on rivers like the Frio and the Guadalupe and the Colorado and Llano due to extreme weather, and we'll call it out, climate change, and obviously also extreme negligence. Warnings not called, sirens not in place, and grant funding lapsed, all resulting in heart-wrenching sadness and preventable loss. While Governor Abbott could sign an executive order today, really any day, and fund warning calls this summer, he delays preventative action. And here at Progress Texas, we've been saying to be able to prevent this in the future is part of healing as well. Instead, he's been laying down his priority, Trump's call to redistrict Texas, redistrict those U.S. congressional seats, perhaps even adding 3 to 5 new Republican majority seats. Where do you see everything laying out with the special session coming up right now, Senator?
Well, let me just start by saying that my heart is with everybody who lost somebody in the tragic floods in Central Texas. I think all of our hearts are, and we are still grieving. And that should be the number one priority of this legislature as we come back together. And I think we can talk a lot about what the governor is able to do or not able to do, but the legislature is in session. And the first priority should be responding to that devastation and exactly allowing people to grieve and begin healing. And instead, we spent hours and hours yesterday on the Senate floor working on Trump's redistricting plan, putting the president over people, putting politicians over people, and making sure that he's able to continue his extremist, harmful agenda, even if there is very valid backlash in the midterms.
You couldn't be more right. In fact, I'll say you are extremely correct here, Senator. Right now, I know you have a busy schedule over the last month or two. You noted yesterday you've been in emergency rooms. And so would you like to talk a little bit about, where you came from? I'm guessing some places with some pretty big, emergencies and traumatic moments themselves. And then coming back to Austin right now with such a hand off the pulse of what Texans are asking for.
It almost feels surreal. So finished my first session. We, I think, had a pretty successful freshman session and went right back to the bedside, which is the reason that I started all of this in the first place, is that I see people who are suffering, they're sick, and they're hurting, and it's because they're poor. It's because their government is failing them. It's because our safety nets are inadequate, and we do not fund everything from Medicaid to mental health in this state. And so I'm frustrated, but I'm even more frustrated. And I spoke about this on the Senate floor yesterday. I told my colleagues that I don't know where they spent the last 5 to 6 weeks, but I spent it in the ER with my patients. And if they had to sit and look at the racial disparities in healthcare and the pain and suffering around our state the way that I do when I'm clocked in for 12 hours at the ER, we would not be talking about redistricting. We would be talking about flood resilience and protecting public health in this state.
Well, I think you're right about that. Right now we still have millions of Texans that do not have health insurance. Of course, we have grant lapses that could provide help to those families that are grieving right now, noting that a tragedy wouldn't strike like this again. But we are here in Austin. So what's going on? What happened on day one? What's leading into this first week? I know the Republican priority is redistricting. How are you seeing that laying out?
Yes, very clearly, that is the number one priority. It's where we started. It's the first motion that we heard on the Senate floor was to suspend the rules and take up and consider a resolution to begin the redistricting process. Let me start by saying this isn't normal. It's not usual. There's no reason that we should be doing this. There's no new census data or court order or law. We are only going to be drawing congressional maps, redrawing congressional maps, and not state maps, because state maps are governed by our state constitution and congressional maps are done a little bit differently. And so we talked for hours yesterday, questioned the big issue that's going on is that these maps, the proposal is based on the DOJ letter, the Department of Justice letter that came out recently, basically saying that Texas's maps are more or less racist against white people. And so what we're about to see happen, if they're able to accomplish their plan, is absolutely a racist disenfranchisement of Black and brown voters in Texas. And we know that Trump's plan is to get 5 more Republicans out of this state. And the only way that we're going to be able to do that is to make sure that we pack these districts with enough white people. And so when we talk about these partisan issues, it's important to understand that what's really at the heart of this is all of the progress that we've made, the civil rights movement, the Voting Rights Act, all of that is on the line with this redistricting. And if we're serious about protecting the voices and the votes of Black and brown Texans, then we absolutely have to stop this from happening and turn around, quite frankly, and win some more seats in Texas.
Yes, we do. And with the civil rights anniversary, the 60th anniversary of the civil rights coming up here at the beginning of August, I imagine folks like John Lewis or Sylvester Turner or other civil rights heroes from the nation's capital to Texas, those being like Barbara Jordan, they would be extremely, we'll just say it, pissed off right now that those protections, those districts that they worked long and hard to protect and create, Black majority districts and Hispanic majority districts in the Rio Grande Valley and throughout Texas, that they're being torn apart, all for political reasons. What would you further say to our governor with this ill-timed, gerrymandered, race-based quest to silence people in East Texas and South Texas? And my next question will be, what can folks do about it?
Yeah. So Trump is absolutely targeting our minority opportunity districts, the people fought and died for, right? Because of where we came from in our history, frankly, where we still are in our present. It's so important that there be equal opportunity for everyone in this country, regardless of their race. And that is what the president is trying to undo. What I think is shocking about this from the perspective of Texans is that one call from the president, he said, jump and we say how high. That doesn't sound like the Texas that I know. And Texas politicians need to be protecting the people of Texas. And if the governor and our leadership are serious about loving on and taking care of and lifting up the people of our state, then we should be dealing with flood resiliency, flood recovery, and making sure that every person in every single neighborhood is prepared for the next disaster. But that's not what we're doing. We're about to take away the opportunity districts for minorities in this state.
Well, I look back at some of the other deadly floods that have happened in this state. One of those was in San Antonio in the 1920s, and a humongous and costly but worthwhile project was the Almost Dam in San Antonio. It was a huge dam that was provided to move the San Antonio River through the city. We are by no means saying that we need to move the Guadalupe, but we can let Texans know about these flooding events prior and, of course, prepare for them. But that's not going to be happening, of course, in these first few days. With that, anything else that you'd like to highlight or lift up, either important to folks in your district or all of Texans right now?
I think the most important thing is that we shouldn't lose hope. Things don't look good. They really don't. And we have a president who is shoring up power in a way that we really haven't ever seen before from a president, packing courts and now redrawing lines in the middle of a decade to make sure that he doesn't lose, even if his priorities are unpopular. But when the rubber hits the road, we should dig our heels in even deeper. We should be talking to our neighbors, thinking about the next election, getting ready to turn out more voters, tuning in more closely So don't allow the fear and the apathy to take hold. Instead, choose hope, talk to your neighbors, tune in, pay close attention, show up to the Capitol, make your voice heard. We can fight this thing. We can turn it around. And I truly believe that we will. But it will take all of us. And I'm proud to be in this fight with each and every one of you.
Well, thank you very much again for joining us, State Senator Molly Cook from Houston. Although today she's joining us from the Texas State Capitol. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Reagan.
Well, folks, you also might know that there will be some public hearings coming up. Although I'll confirm at the House hearings coming up this weekend, there will be no maps provided. So please do stay tuned. Look in the links and in the comments. We'll have definitely ways to show up at those public hearings. There will also be rallies throughout the weekend, both in Austin, Dallas area, in Arlington, and in the Houston area. And stay tuned with organizations like Move Texas and Progress Texas as well. Just this month, our team has exposed the truths behind redistricting, and fact-based media isn't free. So please do head over to Progress Texas right now. You can go to progresstexas.org/donate. You'll be glad you did. And thank you for joining today's program. Again, it's Reagan Stone with Progress Texas. And from all of us here, we hope you have a beautiful afternoon.